Welcome back to One Piece Interview. This is special number 4, part 1 of 3. Yeah, I'm doing a 3-part review for the special, reviewing the remaining 10 films of the series. First up is One Piece the film, otherwise known as One Piece the Great Gold Pirate, the movie. Yeah, this film is roughly 51 minutes, and it's the second shortest film of the series. And the placement of this particular film is pretty easy. Takes place between um, Surat Village and Bastille, because Sanji is not in this film at all. And this film was roughly released. I think it was released during a particular arc. Let me look it up here. I know it was released in December. I think it was in March. Excuse me. You believe this film was only released 17 years ago? Animation wise, most everything looks okay, except I do have one small problem with the film. The background stuff with this film. Yeah, that's the thing I have a small problem with. Let's see. This film roughly came out between episodes 16 and 17 of the series. That's when the film was released. But the film takes place after Surat Village. Yep, takes place afterward, despite the fact that it came out toward the end of that particular arc. Basically, when the arc about a few episodes left in the anime. Mm-hmm. The only reason I know it takes place between those two particular arcs because Sanji has not joined the crew yet, and it's just basically the crew going to an island, look for this great treasure with this this little boy, and meets up with his grandfather, who apparently is no friend of the Great Gold Pirate, um, who also wants to become a member of the guy's crew, even though that it's never really shown exactly what his ship looks like or who was part of his crew. It's just like, oh, we have to have this random legendary pirate. Not much to the character per se. As to the villain was actually pretty interesting. Basically, he's a guy looking for the gold. They actually don't find the gold, actually. Yeah, spoiler. Even though the film was 17 years old, I can spoil the heck out of this movie. Um, but I will get to about my problems with the language of this film uh, at the end. The the villain is basically a guy who got gold armor. He's obsessed with gold. He's got swords working for him. Who's actually saying working for him. This is according to Zoro, and that's really much it. Not much else really to this film. It's just like, oh, let's just find some treasure. It's an okay film. It's not terrible per se. It's got great animation on the characters, the objects. Pretty much everything here looks good, except for the background. The background looks like someone's drawing, and it's kind of like when they made this film, they put the background in, but they forgot to animate it. Yeah, that's the only problem with the film, and plus the film is just kind of short. All right. What do I give the first film? I give the film a roughly an 8 out of 10. It's an okay story. Second film I thought was a lot more interesting. Second film is called Clockwork Island Adventure. Yeah, where they meet up with the Straw Hat crew with Sanji. And this one, like the first one, you actually fit this one pretty easily into the canon. This film roughly takes place between the Warship arc and Longtown arc. And that's the arc that basically just before they went into the Grand Line. And roughly put, this film is basically just the Straw Hat crew meets the Thief Brothers. Of course, also their ship gets stolen at the start of the movie, and also one of the very few times the characters actually go to the beach. Though Luffy doesn't do any, so he sits on a rock. Nami gets a suntan, just laying on her belly, getting a suntan. Of course, Sanji decides to put some lotion on her back, and he knows that she has very soft silk skin, which makes it this the only time Sanji's ever actually touched Nami in the whole entire series. I mean, touched him without getting hit. Though, he's putting sunscreen on her, so it's fine. I keep wondering, why didn't Naruto ever do a beach episode? That would have been fun. Seeing all the characters putting on swimsuits and going to the beach. Though we gotta get a chance to see that in the third film of the Naruto series. But in the case of One Piece, yeah, the characters put on swimsuits many times in the series. So, so not really much problem there. The ship gets stolen. They think it's they meet up with the thief pirates. They basically mistakenly blame the ship being stolen by the Trump pirates. Now, I do have a couple theories of why in the world they're called the Trump pirates. Um, Either one, it's a play on Donald Trump, or two, it's play on the whole thing of Trump cards, obviously. And some are got different powers. They have a woman. When they have the Trump siblings is made up of a big guy who apparently is their captain and wants to become king of the pirates, like Luffy does. A woman who we first see her, she's actually in the nude. I mean, seriously, you get a chance to see her rear end. And as for the other female characters in the series, you don't get a chance to see their rear end in the series. So basically, this woman who's part of the Trump the Trump siblings, she's actually the first woman in the series to show off her rear end ever in a One Piece anime. And yet, in the case of the males, I know Luffy's done a couple times, show up his rear end. But in the case of the women, nope, none of them ever show off their rear ends. You actually don't get a chance to see her like any women like fully naked. But she's actually the first person. You get to see her rear end several times because she's laying in a bathtub at the bow, at basically the head of the ship. Basically, at the bow, there's this giant pool, and she's basically swimming in the nude. And there's this guy with a spike ball. Sanji fights a couple times in the film. The ship itself gets stolen, and of course it's actually stolen by the Thief Brothers, not by the Trump Pirates. And they go to this place called Clockwork Island. Turns out that's where the younger one of the Thief Brothers is actually from. Now, these brothers are not related, but the older guy basically raised him from when he was a baby. So it's kind of like even though it's kind of like a brotherly relationship, it's also kind of like a father and son relationship because he took very good care of this kid. And apparently the Trump siblings have been running the Clockwork Island for because of how old the kid is. It looks like probably about 10 years. That's my personal guess, anyways, of how long they've been running the island. And they like all the Straw Hats get a chance to shine here, and because the fact when the ship was stolen, some of them were basically in their like wearing other clothes like swimsuits. They had to basically get clothes from a wedding rental shop where Usopp dresses up as a priest. Nami puts on a wedding dress. Sanji puts on a suit, and Zoro basically puts on an outfit and thinks he's one of the groomsmen. Well, a Japanese version of groomsmen. It's just so funny. And I don't know what's with the female member of the Trump Pirates, and for some reason she acts like she's kind of like a lesbian, where apparently she acts like she has a thing for Nami. I don't know why. It's hinted that she's possibly bi. It's a possibility, definitely stated. There's actually another guy who Usopp fights, and this guy's power is he can create farts. No, seriously, that's what his power is. The woman is a little more interesting, though, for power, where she can turn into water. That's interesting. Luffy fights the big guy of the crew, and he beats him basically, and he beats him by basically, it takes a few times, and where's the Straw Hat ship? Actually on top of this island, basically, which is basically floating on top of this giant pillar, which is basically spinned around, this giant tower. That's basically where the island is. It's a nice little town. You get a chance to learn about this town people, which is nice. And it's a pretty fun film overall. And this film, yeah, like I said, takes place between Warship Island and Longtown. Good place to put it. So it's a pretty fun film overall. I don't want to spoil too much of this one because it's just really good. I give this one a 9 out of 10. Alright, time for the third film. And this one I just finished watching. This one's called Chopper's Kingdom on the Island of Strange Animals. This one is actually the first film you cannot fit into the canon. And there's a few good reasons why. One, because you have Chop part of the crew, not Robin, even though this is possibly taking place after Alabasta. And Vivi is not part of the crew. As a matter of fact, Vivi only makes one appearance in the films. Yeah, she appears in the film that's the bridge version of the Alabasta arc, which I'll get to that soon. That's actually, I believe it's the. That's 6. Yeah, that's actually the 8th film. Yeah, this one is just basically just Usopp, just not Usopp, Chopper, just one up and on. This is actually Chopper's first appearance in the films, and for a non-canon film, it's really good. Yep. Now it's theorized Rob might be hiding in the cabin, but it's kind of the thing. If this is supposed to take place after Alabasta, then why in the world is the crew wearing the normal attires and not the outfits they wore at the end of Alabasta? And of course, Sanji is wearing Mr. Prince glasses, even though those things were smashed in the Alabasta arc. It's a bit confusing. So, for a lot of people, they consider this film not canon because there's so many continuity errors with this particular film. The first 2 films, you can easily fit those in the canon, no problem. This one, you cannot. But is it terrible? No, it's actually really good. Basically, there's these geysers that basically do these like underwater eruptions that cause the Straw ship to go flying, and Chopper accidentally pulls out the flag, and he keeps the flag through the whole entire movie. He wears it as a cape the whole movie, and he battles these strange guys who apparently, and he goes to this island full of animals, and there's one human on it who dresses like a Jungle Boy. No, seriously, he wears like teeth around it, like a teeth necklace, like a loincloth. Yeah, it's like a traditional Jungle Boy. And this kid looks like he's about, I'd say he's just about 10, and he's a bit dark skinned. I get kind of the reason why he gets spent a lot of time outside. And plus, it looks like he has a big scar in his chest, like maybe like he got burned at some point. Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like. It looks like he got a big hole like right here in the chest. And I'm most surprised that Chopper didn't get a chance to get a close look at that in this particular film. I don't really know why he never got a chance to, but he just didn't. And the whole goal of this film is to get these golden horns from this dead animal king. Seriously, that's the plot of the film. Get this thing. And of course, Luffy eats a lot like usual. Ever get a chance to shine. Zoro actually fights the world's strongest man. And Sanjay fights a guy who claims to be the world's most handsomest man. And Luffy fights the genius. Yep. He fights him a couple times. And after he breaks... well, here's the thing. Apparently this guy, his different powers, he can eat bone. Yeah, he eats lots and lots of bones. Well, basically horns. He eats horns. So he eats these golden horns, turns this animal creature, basically, and Luffy fights him for a while. Chopper fights him, surprisingly. First time, actually, Chopper fights the main antagonist of a story. Something he does not do in the anime, which is kind of interesting. Though Chopper doesn't defeat it, he actually goes to his rebel form, and he actually gets a chance to hurt him, basically busting open the guy's forehead. And of course, Luffy basically breaks the horns. The guy goes back normal, and sends him flying via his Gum Gum Bazooka. Yep. But this was a pretty fun film. Now, the second film was roughly 55 minutes. The third film was roughly 56 minutes, so it was a little bit longer. But I looked it up, like, what's the first one that gets over an hour? It doesn't really start that way until the 5th film. Yeah, the 5th film, which is Curse the Holy Sword, which I will get to that in part 2. That's when the films get longer than an hour. So it's kind of like the specials, where they're just almost an hour. And then starting with the 5th film, and of course it's kind of like the 5th special, the films get more than an hour long. Yep. But that's pretty good music. Some of the music I recognize looked like it sounded like music from video games. Like, I think it sounds like they borrow music from Super Mario Brothers. That's what it sounds like to me. But I get this film also a 9 out of 10. It's a great film. But there's one thing I gotta talk about these films. Now, I looked it up. Out of the 13 films, only 4 have been dubbed. 4. The abridged Alabasta film, Strong World, Z, and Gold. That's it. I don't really know why they only dubbed 4 films. I mean, look, let's say Naruto, for example. They've had 11 films, and yet Shippuden is not finished releasing the dub episodes yet. The most recent episode they released was, they got the 416, which means they got roughly about, I think it's about like 84 episodes left to release. But at least Viz Media already dubbed all the films. Filmation, for some reason, is not dubbed all the One Piece films. Either it's rights issue or something. I don't really know what the heck is going on with this. Why in the world is it that when it comes to these films, only 4 have been dubbed? So basically, you have to watch like 9 films subbed. Seriously, why in the world? I mean, I don't have a problem with the sub. Sub is fine, but I just kind of wish. It seems like Filmation, it's like they only care about more about dubbing the actual show than they do care about dubbing the films. And I've checked the most recent thing they've actually released dubbed, and they've gone to 4. They've only dubbed like 3 more episodes. Like it's like they released like 3 more for some reason. I don't know why. It's up to like 400. It's like 543 for some reason. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. Even though Shippuden hasn't finished yet, like I said, at least they dub all the films. Bleach has the entire series dubbed, and all 4 films are dubbed. The only thing that's not dubbed is basically the OVAs. And that's really it. In the case of Hunter x Hunter, for that show, the show was slowly being dubbed. But as for the films have never been dubbed, and there's been 2 of them released. I would have thought by now they would have dubbed these films by now, but I guess that they don't want to be dubbed for some reason. I don't know why. I think Viz Media wants the rights to dub that one as well. But when Filmation, who owns the rights to the Dragon Ball franchise, they've dubbed all the series. All the films been dubbed by now, even though they're on their 4th series right now, and they're roughly like a little over 30 episodes in. At least they've dubbed all the movies. Every single one. I don't know why they're not dubbing all the One Piece films, which honestly makes no sense. These films are not terrible. It's just that I don't get why they've never been dubbed. It just honestly makes no sense. Yeah. And One Piece has occasionally to do this whole thing of basically where it swears. Like, they have the tendency to over the course of the entire series, I've only heard an F-bomb drop in the show once. The entire show, once. I've heard the S-word several times. I've heard the B-word at least a few times. But in these 3 films overall, the only kind of close to a bad word is ass. That's really it. And they said it in this film, and they said it, I believe, in the previous film, but not in the first film, surprisingly. But Luffy is the one who says it the most, and yeah, at least that is one of the most common words they use a lot, aside from regular language. But that's fine. Other people say it all the time as well. It's not really a big problem with me. But this is probably by far the only show I've actually seen where they actually use foul language in the anime. Heck, even the dub, they actually swear too. Though they don't drop any F-bombs, but they do swear. I get kind of the reason why, because they probably swear also. I think they swear in the manga as well, but in the first 3 films overall, there's hardly any swearing, surprisingly, and yet of the 3 films I have watched, there's been a little bit of swearing, but not very much. So basically, for these 3 films overall, the first film is a pretty good film. It's not the best film of the series, but it's an okay film. It's not terrible. The story itself is, I'd say it's okay. But the second and third film is basically where it gets a little bit better, story-wise, the animation. Great music, too. Anything else? Nothing much else, aside from the fact third film basically is the first one that's actually not canon. I'm sure that the 8th film was not canon due to the fact it's a bridge retelling of an actual arc from the series. But yeah. So that's really it for this particular video. Stay tuned when I get a chance to do part 2, where I'm going to do the 4th, 5th, and 6th films of the series, which those films will be talking about my opinion of Dead End Adventure, The Cursed Holy Sword, and Baron. I'm sorry, and The Sacred Island. Those 3 are the next ones I'm going to talk about in part 2 of this special. Okay, but until then, excuse me, we'll see you there. Bye.